Welcome back. This is Hope at Dawn, right here at Hope TV, where you look and you live. And it's a Wednesday. And of course, you know the drill. Every Wednesday, we usually have the Christian Walk segment. And today we continue with the same. And over the last few weeks, we've been looking at the mission work and the mission field and what it entails. And we continue with that conversation this morning. And today it's missions to the world, to the different cultures, to the different generations as well. That is what we shall be discussing today during this segment. And of course, you can be part of the show. Looking forward to your comments, to your queries as well. Get in touch with us on our social media platforms, Hope TV Kenya. And also we are live on YouTube as well. So make sure you are sharing the link so that as many as they can be able to learn a thing or two about the mission work. And of course, we are not alone in studio. We are not, should I say, the experts. We are here also to learn a thing or two about the same. And so we have Pastor Moses, who is coming to us from ICC in Nairobi. Karibu sana to the show.
Thank you, guys.
Good to see you.
Welcome.
Yeah, karibu sana.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
Asante sana. And it's also a pleasure to have you on set. The very first time, I believe.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Karibu sana. It's a joy to have you.
Hope FM.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then TV, this is the first time.
It's the first time.
Yes.
Always the first time.
Always,
Karibu sana.
always the first
Yeah, always the first time.
Yes.
Yeah, so karibu sana to the show. And for the sake of those who are interacting with you for the very first time, a brief introduction of yourself.
Yeah, Moses is born again.
Yeah.
He's been a pastor for the last 15 years. I'm married to one beautiful wife, made of angelic gems.
Wow.
Pure awesomeness. Her name is Timna Githinji.
Yeah.
And we have 4 kids, 3 girls and 1 boy. We bless the Lord.
Amen.
We're married for the last 16 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I got married early.
Yeah.
So it's been a good walk.
Yeah.
So I think whoever is listening should know that marriage works.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's me. Over my pastoral life, I've of course grown up in Assemblies of God Church. I've also pastored at Mavuno Church, and currently back to Assemblies of God Church with International Christian Center, under the leadership of Bishop Gibson and Duvat, and that's where we are. I see Nairobi.
All right.
Yes.
That's amazing. Awesome. And thank you so much for that introduction.
Yeah.
Now at least we are at par.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the topic and the conversation of the day today is on missions to the world. We've been handling the topics of missions this whole month of September that passed by, but we felt it is important for us to touch on what we have not touched on, to build on a whole different foundation at this point.
Yeah.
And even before we begin, I would love to know where your passion for missions emanates from. Even as you have pastored for this long, is it something that you thought you would lean towards, or was it just a calling in the middle?
I mean, my life is funny, Beatrice. I grew up in Bahati, Eastlands. And Eastlands, missions, whatever is found to do, you do. And I remember we used to go to church from morning, then leave in the evening, meet a couple of guys in the afternoon, stories, makajioni.
Yeah.
And then you realize as you grow, God begins to align you into a certain space. My 4 pillars in the pastoral work I've been has been leadership development, youth empowerment, church planting, and church management strategy. Those are the spaces where I found myself, God calling me into.
Okay.
So I grew up in a space where we used to call missions outreach. And, actually the word was evangelism. Evangelism felt spiritual, And we had a lot of evangelists. Nowadays, I think we only have a few.
Yeah.
Probably everybody is a pastor now. But then aligning to the 5-fold offices, you have this space called, an evangelist. And then I think we became a bit swaggish. We went to outreach. It sounded, it worked.
Yeah.
Yes.
And reaches people, guys, let's go for outreach. And from evangelism, people began to reduce going outside to reach guys out.
Oh.
Then when people rebranded to outreach, again the numbers went up.
Yeah.
Wow, this is really good. And now we are at now in missions and stuff. I'd love to say that has been my trajectory.
Okay.
In all the 4 pillars that I'm in, you realize that mission lacketh not. In terms of, you cannot be talking to people about leadership development,
Yeah.
Church planting, and church management strategy without missions.
Yeah.
Because again, you're reaching people.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we exist for the Great Commission, and that's really what governs us.
Yeah.
And so we are in that space because, again, every believer, it is your responsibility. Before even the calling of God comes on your life, it is a responsibility for you as a believer to reach out and to disciple. So you don't disciple because you're a pastor. You don't disciple because you go to church. You don't disciple because even if you are in Antarctica where there is no church, there is no building, people gathering, and you're the only one there,
Yeah.
and you are 2 of you, it is your responsibility to reach out. And that's trajectory of my life. So having served, of course, you now church planting, you think about wanting to reach people for Christ, and you have these new strategies, and you have these new ways of trying to bring people to God. Of course, you're looking at the marketplace, you're looking at the church. Actually, the reality is there are people who actually go to church who need to be reached, because some go to church to hide.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're running away from God, but that's a good space to start from.
Yeah.
And so missions, I would say, it's twofold. It's then outside the God's flock and inside God's flock.
Yeah. Thank you for that foundation. It's very important, even as we start our conversation about missions to the world.
Yeah.
When we talk missions to the world, looking at the Genesis, we had the missionaries coming and doing all those things, planting churches, hospitals, and all. But then again, there's a talk now that Africa is now the one to send missionaries now to those countries. How do we prepare our people? How do we prepare ourselves to now go and share that? Because there is a flip to how it was done. And now then again, because it's different, because when it came, they used different strategies.
Yeah.
But now we are going back to them.
In a way, to reach them again back to Christ.
Yes.
So let me start this conversation from a perspective of probably, the generations, how we've lived, traditionalist, all the way to now, generation Alpha and Beta. Reaching every generation is different. And I remember when, the missionaries would come, it was really difficult for probably an African to believe that the same person is holding a gun and the same person is preaching the word to me. And so it was a bit difficult for missionaries to actually preach.
Yeah.
And so it was, again, also difficult for the African man to listen, probably in quotes, a white man who is here. So are you here for the word? Are you here for me? Are you here for my property? And so in 1950s, I think the world wasn't even a billion. If I would say, we were very slim, very, very, very small. The percentage was smaller. I need to get those facts right. And so you realize right now we are at 8 billion people in the world. And so you talk about cultures have developed. People are a lot. People have been exposed. The illiteracy level, has gone up. People are now aware that this is a space I need to be. And so Africa needs to prepare by impacting and understanding the mission field. So the mission field is important because then if we do not know the history, we keep repeating it. And of course history repeats itself, but we keep making the same mistakes. So so Africa right now is at 1.5 billion people. And if you look at Christian level, we are at 667 according to Statista.com. And those are the Christians that actually we need to empower for them to go out and reach out the world. So you're looking at the world in perspectives or segments. So 1, culture. 2, people. 3, age groups. The way you reached our parents is not the way you reach us today. I mean, talking even about home, Gen Zs, by the time you convince them church works, the first thing they tell you is they're coming to occupy.
Yeah.
Because they feel
Yeah.
you need some lessons on when you're saying church works, what are you saying?
Yeah.
And so we need to understand the mission field. We need to understand what has worked, what hasn't worked. We need to understand where we have come from to where we are going.
Yeah.
And so you have come from the traditionalist era, where we used to, probably even people never used to wear clothes, halfway.
Yeah.
And you're okay with that. Both male and female, naked and not ashamed.
Yeah.
They would go around and do whatever they are doing, you know. Then you come into this industrial era where you have people who are actually proud to work in the industries. Less educated, but they are good. Then again, how you reach them is different.
Yeah.
Then now you are in an era it's called the information era, where instead of going to the university, you go to YouTube University, and you're good. Where being an undergraduate or not finishing your campus looks like a swag. You're about to finish, but then you are not again to be sitting in class, and you end up in the university for 20 years. Now you realize that we need to understand that field. Once we understand the field, then we know the right concepts and the perspective and the approaches to make. Now, Africa being 1.5 billion people, 75% is under the age of 20 years. So that means whatever mission concept you do, if you lack the youth below the age of 30, you actually are raising up something that you will actually not achieve. Because the way they hear God is different.
Yeah.
The moment you begin to tell someone the Lord loves you, and he knows he slept hungry, he's not okay, he's not fine, systems are not working for them, they're trying to figure out how their lives is going to move, you miss out the point.
Yeah.
You see? One of the biggest people and community that has actually cracked even how to approach this is the Catholic Church. What they did is they came with alms. And they said, these people need education. These people need health. And so they came in with a social aspect. That when you're treated, Beatrice, then you will hear the word.
Yeah.
When you go to school, then you will hear the word. And that's why you have a lot going on in that space, And for us to, again, achieve, when we talk about preparing the field, is people who need to be equipped. We haven't equipped our young guys.
No.
In fact, when a young man rises, the default is obvious. Cut down his feet, wait for your time.
Yeah.
Even as we struggle. You see?
Yeah.
But then he's the one who understands his generation.
True.
That's true.
If you study God's word, and probably this shocks people a lot when I say it, I honestly do believe it was time for Eli to leave, for Samuel to grow. And God had to remove Eli there because Samuel wouldn't have,
Yeah.
Eli had kids, Hophni and Phinehas. But these guys played around in church. And they would do whatever they wanted to do with in the tabernacle. And God knew, I want to reach my people in their own generation.
Yeah.
And so you have a Joseph reaching out a young Egypt, and Pharaoh stands aside. You have Samuel reaching out to Israel, who now hear God and understand the generation.
Yeah.
You have Moses being sent back to Egypt because he grew up in the palace, so he understands Egypt. You see?
Yeah.
And so God raises these people in different times.
Yeah.
And when you read Acts 13:36, it says that David served God in his generation until he was no more. So serving God in your generation is really big.
Yeah.
And so God, we need to align ourselves like that. Understand who is to go and who will they listen to. And I think that's a very big aspect.
Yeah.
So those are a few things we need to do and to be ready for what is coming ahead. It's going to be big, Beatrice. And I do agree Africa is now the number one fastest growing missionary sending globe in the world, continent in the world. So that's where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's something we also discussed before we began the show, and that is trying to also reach out to those of other religions, because they represent the world. Because right now, even in just our country, Kenya, we find that there's so many people of different religions. We have the Indians who are actually, mainly they actually take up a very big chunk of like the Parklands area and all that. And we see that even CITAM has like CITAM Parklands, which reaches out to the Asian community. But now I've always wondered, how do I approach someone of a different religion? How do I ensure that I'm not telling them your religion is wrong, or trying to make them feel as though, I have no respect for what you believe?
Yeah.
How do I draw them in while respecting what they know?
I honestly feel, and this is from the bottom of my heart, I honestly feel the church has missed the mark. The reason why I'm saying that, George, is because we are so much swept and sunk into religion that we have actually forgotten that Christ did not even come to bring religion. There is nowhere in the scripture Jesus spoke about Christianity. That's a man-made thing. And I'll tell you why. The church was, actually the apostles were first named Christians by other people. They did not call themselves Christians. Others called them like that because they were Christ-like and they behaved like Christ. And when God sent out apostles, he actually didn't even tell them to go and reach out to other religion. Because I do believe that when the church begins to talk about Christianity, someone else from a different religion can't even hear you because he is already defensive.
Right.
You come to me with religion, oh, sorry, I belong to Islam. Sorry, I belong to Hindu. Oh, so the same way you are Christian. And we've gotten into a battle when I see people arguing about God, standing on streets with speakers. And, oh, Jesus is the right true God. Why? Oh, Buddha is the right true God. Why? Because it is clear. The one who rose from the dead is only Jesus Christ and no one else. That is number one. The second thing that Jesus came to affirm is a relationship. Because even the people they called Christians, who are the Pharisees, he rebuked them and called them you brood of vipers and called them names. In fact, by any chance, if they were anywhere in the temple, Jesus would have whipped them hard. When he was turning around, turning up the birds and letting them go, And he said that you have turned my house, my father's house, into a place of merchandise. It is to be a house of prayer. And Jesus came and had a relationship. The first time he calls Simon Peter, he says, come and see. I'll make you fishers of men. Come and do. Come and this. And there is a tactic that Jesus uses actually. He says, come and see. And when they see what Jesus is doing, they fall in love with him. The second is, he came and told them, come and follow. When they saw what he was doing, they followed him. But then, the third, which is now actually the biggest, is come and die. How many Christians, you ask right now, how many Christians are willing to die for the gospel? If in fact, if someone would enter a church with a gun, you'll be so shocked will remain. Probably the pastor will be the first one leaving the... You see? Because some of them, it's not in their heart to serve. And it is until you get to that point where Peter got to and said, I have sinned. This man honestly loved me. This man honestly was after me. Imagine walking with someone for 3 years, George, and then he doesn't even believe a word you say. That was Thomas. I say, I can't believe that guy can resurrect. There's no way. And then Jesus appears to him and still loves on him. Because he came to bring a relationship. He didn't come to preach religion. No. And one of the ways to reach others, because also the word says there is no difference between the Jew and the Gentile. When Peter went to visit, I think it was Cornelius, and he had this dream and said, we do not do those things. We don't eat those things. And a word comes to him and tells him, Peter, what God has cleansed, don't call it a different name. I do honestly believe we need to change our aspect. First of all, mind shift. It's not Christianity reaching Islam.
No.
Right.
It is Jesus, we believers, reaching a Gentile.
Wow.
And then that changes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the way to reach a Gentile is, what does he eat? How does he do things? What makes sense to him? And you would see Christ would go and mingle with them and sit with sinners. But even the Christian, quote unquote, the Pharisees would tell him, why do you eat with sinners? Because religion is outside bound. It's literally how you wear. It's what you say. It is how you look. Someone enters the church, you can actually tell. They're either rich or poor, true or false.
True.
True.
But what they're driving, where they sit, how they're dressed.
Yeah.
Pastors nowadays, even some of them, quote unquote, because I'm one of them, they'll overdress on stage. They have $1 million watches.
Yeah.
What hair? I mean, a lot of things happen. So we've become a religious institution. We've missed the point.
Yeah.
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 And so when Jesus comes, he brings in a relationship. And say, you have been told earlier, I have not come to break the law but to fulfill it. You have heard Moses say, but now I bring you the new commandment. The 600 laws, he broke them into 10. Actually, Moses broke them into 10. Then Jesus broke them into 2. The first one, love the Lord your Lord with all your heart. It has got to do you, yourself, and God. And then the second one is you, the person-to-person space. So I do feel for us to change and actually make missions effective, the first place to begin is our own mind shift.
Yeah.
Because if I can reach you through sports, why not play sports?
Yeah.
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 The war between countries, if people organize a game, people will come and play.
True.
And sports, it's a new way of outreach. Concerts, new way of outreach. Planting trees, new way of outreach.
Yeah.
Going to clean the streets, new way of outreach. So people don't have to sit for you to speak to them with a microphone. They won't hear you.
Yeah.
But when you have lunch with me, I'll come.
Yeah. You listen.
Exactly.
That's profound, because I think and I feel and even observing, we are still using the same old
tricks.
tactics to reach out to people. We are still using the same old ways that were used when they were reaching us. But then again, we have a different generation. We have different, as you said, I like the aspect of you said about reaching the other religions, that when I come as a Christian, I will shout. Because now it's sort of like, it's a battle.
Actually, I have a question, George.
Yeah.
If you'd go to a mosque, can you actually go inside a mosque?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Can you actually pray there?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Because it has nothing to do with you not being a believer.
Yeah. Yeah.
The difference between the disciples and Paul was that one. Paul went to spaces where people would actually call unclean. He would go to Athens, mingle with people. He'd go to Philippi and do what they're doing. He'd go to Corinthians and spend time with them. He'd go and he would actually do those missionary journey trips. And that's why he's one of the greatest church planters we've ever had.
Yeah.
Because he reached out to different people in their different conversations.
Yeah.
In Athens, he went and says, I want to talk to you about this unknown God. And people would listen to him.
Yeah.
But imagine if he went and said, you guys worship idols? Oh, you're not going to see heaven? What do you think would have happened?
Yeah.
Oh, they would chase him.
It's sometimes even Shingo goes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So God's word says, be gentle as a dove, but also wise.
It just happens.
This happens. Because you are preaching even with the way you walk, you talk, who you are.
Yeah.
You know? And someone says preach, and if necessary, use words.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I hear more. I will not get more from you with what you say, but I learn more with how you behave. So if you go and feed someone, Mother Teresa would feed someone, people would ask him, hey, are you a believer? Do you know God? Because her behavior is different.
Yeah.
And so I believe that's the way to go to reach the world.
Yeah.
We need to go beyond religion. We need to go beyond culture. We need to go beyond where you come from. We need to go beyond the second name.
Yeah.
If you introduce yourself in this country and say, I'm Moses, someone just you are Moses who?
Yeah.
Because I want to put you in a box.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to know how I'll approach. But isn't Moses enough for you to know where I'm from? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the mission space we've missed.
Yeah.
And so if we're to reach even our own country,
Yeah.
the Gen Z and our young people, it's because we have missed that mark.
Yeah.
We are still using the old wine, putting it in new wine skin.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you get? A rift.
Yeah.
You get children who want to get inheritance as quick as possible.
Yeah.
You want, because the only aspect I've sat down with our fathers and I hear them say, there is one word that always comes up: we did not grow up like you guys.
Yeah.
That is not how we were raised. What they don't understand is that this is a new generation. My children, Beatrice, don't know Maziwa ya Nyayo.
No.
If you talk about Moi, they'll tell you who is that? You know?
Yeah.
They're on the streets because they
And
believe.
that's actually we saw with the Gen Zs.
Yeah.
Our parents were wondering, do you know what you're doing?
Do you know what you're doing?
You know, you're standing up
Yes.
to the government. How? You know. But as you said, they don't know
Yeah.
Nyayo.
They don't know
Sijui
Nyayo.
torture chambers.
These
Yeah.
Gen Z are the people who were actually taken to school by President Kibaki. And they were raised seeing a very funny president.
Yeah.
Cool, calm and collect.
Yeah.
Very
Who made systems work for them. Now systems are not working, they're asking questions on the
Yeah.
streets.
Why?
And even they are not afraid of that. You said earlier, I think before, you said,
Yeah.
Gen Z are not afraid of marriage. I mean, they are only afraid of marriage, but any other thing they'll do. They don't want commitment.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you can't even hire a young man and sign a contract.
No.
Because tomorrow he'll not show up.
Aki. What?
And the first thing he'll tell you is, take me to where you want
Yeah.
to take me. In court, they're told to keep quiet. You'll be in contempt of court. And that's the time they raise their voices to air their grievances.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, you tell me how you reach such a man for Christ. Because now, you can't tell a young man about calmness,
No.
about, follow the law, do this and that. He'll ask you, is this the God you serve? A God who wants you to hurt?
Yeah.
A God who wants you to be in pain? A God who doesn't want you to grow? A God who doesn't give you food? That is how they know God now. And it is difficult, Beatrice. I'm telling you, it is difficult reaching this generation.
Yeah.
They are online members. They don't go to church.
No.
Online members. Because where do you go? I was online. Which church? No worries.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm good.
Yeah.
So if you look at the statistics, 20% of people in Nairobi, or even Kenya,
Yeah.
churches you see, Evangelical Alliance now has, I think, almost 70,000 churches, if I'm not wrong. 600 denominations registered under that umbrella. Now, if I am a youth leader, a national leader, I need to think 70,000. But I also need to think 56 million people. If I don't rub the boundaries of I come from ICC, you come from CITAM,
Yeah.
this is how we do our thing, we will never succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another generation will come after another, saying there one time they will raise a man, but now is the time. God says, just as now is the time. Don't say 4 months, yet the harvest is here.
It's ready.
But do you know why we don't see it? It's because there's a guy called the enemy. He's really, really cunning.
Yeah.
And he has made the church comfortable.
Yeah.
As long as you get your pay, Beatrice, as long as you pay your bills, as long as you're fine, why do you need to be on the street?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you need to struggle? Why do you need to say yes to God's call of going to another country where you know it will hurt?
Yeah.
So there are no missionaries. And that's the main reason as to why I
Yeah.
think we are where we are.
Yeah, yeah. The saddest, not the saddest thing, but the most, should I say, the dangerous thing is that age group is the vast majority, not just in Africa,
Yeah.
Yeah.
even in Kenya. We saw when those demos were happening and all, when they were trying to bring up the graphics and all about even the voters in the next election, they are huge. Their numbers are huge, swelling every day. How then do we Because they occupied.
They occupied.
Even churches. And the reason why they were occupying churches, if you remember, they were saying the church is being misused, as you said, in terms of what are we doing? You know, our actions, what we are saying, how we carry ourselves. They saw a church that was not speaking what the Bible would, you know.
The word?
The word.
And the action.
Exactly. Ilikuwa off. And so they were in a way trying to restore order. How do we ensure that we don't, because there is a danger of creating a whole generation that will become rebellious towards the things of God, and when that happens, it's tragedy.
It's dangerous, George.
It is.
I do not think our leaders understand what went on.
No.
I feel they missed the mark.
Yeah.
You see, if you have raised me up with the word, it says give and shall come back to you. If I don't see you giving,
Yes.
I don't trust that word.
Yes.
Because I will do what you do. Okay? So if you take the Bible, where you have this young man, and you're telling them this is how to live as a believer is.
Yes.
And more often you tell them, start with John chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning there was a word. And you leave them there to actually find their way.
Yeah.
Now you tell me, the same constitution you saw to protect, you are not doing what it says.
Yes.
Now, do you know why they're occupying? The church don't follow the word.
Yes.
The leaders don't follow the constitution.
Constitution.
So they're in between here. So who do they trust? Because when you talk about serving and going out to becoming part of the community, they are not saying that.
No.
And these guys, let me tell you, the things they learn with their eyes
Yeah.
is crazy than what they hear.
Yeah.
Now they hear, but they don't listen. Because listening is
Yeah.
you telling me not to do something and I don't do it.
Yes.
Then you will understand I listened to you. But what makes someone to get the audacity of going to the streets and to talk about this is not working for me, can we have a conversation?
Yeah.
And you know what? They stick with Article 1, chapter 1 of Article 1 that says the supremacy.
Yeah.
They don't even need to go to the others.
No.
Hiyo moja tu inasema, either I can be represented either by someone who is democratic elected or I can come directly
Yeah.
to the president.
Yeah.
So I know our parents, that Tuesday when guys cracked parliament,
Yeah.
they folded their hands and said, this nation has gone. Even Baba, I don't think has ever taken people
Nah,
all the way to
no.
parliament. He knows where to stop.
Yeah, he knows.
You see? But these guys, they even told him, you see, let us go overboard.
Yeah.
Because it seems here is a problem. Now, these guys are on the streets to fix a problem. But you see where the church, where we missed out, is instead of being on the forefront,
Yeah.
of saying, we can actually air our views without violence. We kept quiet.
Yeah.
And now, when violence happened now, we are coming in to tell the young people, calm down, because violence is not the answer.
Yes.
The first question is, where were you before?
Exactly.
Because you should have shown leadership. Now, be very afraid of an organization that says they are leaderless and fearless
Yeah.
and tribeless.
And tribeless.
Because they have understood and they have watched.
True.
And they have learned.
Yeah.
These are the three things that causes them problems. So nobody wants to identify themselves with that. Now, if you connect that to reaching them for the word of God, the first thing we need to do is not even tell them anything to do with for them to sit down and have a conversation. For them to feed them. Churches need to be involved in the marketplace, George.
Yeah.
I am a firm believer that organizations right now, we are living in a space where people need to find something to do during the week.
Yeah.
Marketplace. Be influential in the eras. And I loved one of the sermons I think that changed my perspective on the marketplace is of Joseph of Arimathea. Because the Bible says he approached Pilate. How do you get access to Pilate if you're not a businessman?
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Which means he followed Christ from a distance. But he could not associate himself because then his business would not have gone well with the government.
Yeah.
So you become friends with the government, but then you're following this man from a distance.
Yeah.
And so when Jesus died, he says, give me his body. Let me go and bury him. It means Joseph was very rich. It means Joseph was in the marketplace. It means Joseph had influence.
Yeah.
And what the church lacks is influence in those sectors. We need to be in health and environment. We need to be in media and arts. And I'm happy for what Hope is doing, right? CITAM is doing with this.
Yeah.
We need to be in a family and education.
Yeah.
We need to have systems that work.
Yeah.
Because then if you are not on the forefront,
Yeah.
who are you raising? You can't have a missionary who is uneducated. He will not give you the effect, and he won't be efficient.
Sure.
He will go to communities on the streets of probably countries that are not of his religion, and preach. We will call that boldness.
Yeah.
But I think some are ignorant. You see?
Yeah.
Because Jesus blended in for 3 years.
Yeah.
And the effects we have today are effects of 2,000 years later of what he did
Yeah.
in those 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel that's really what we need to do. So when we talk about missions globally, we are talking about a life of culture, changing our mindset, changing our perspective, changing our approach.
Yeah.
And I believe it is time to empower our young people to be the people that they really want to be.
Yeah.
And for them to go out to the world and become part and partners. The final thing I think I would love to say is,
Yeah.
I'm loving the aspect of bivocational ministries. When you have people in church, because that's what they do. We leave our profession at the gate,
Yeah.
come to church.
Yeah.
I'm an accountant, I'm a lawyer, but let me just sit and listen. But that law is your pulpit. That business is your pulpit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where you network. You see? And so when I am in a space of conferences, what I do mostly is I partner with corporates. Because I know they are looking for people. We have the platform.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, ministry has happened.
Yeah.
We will preach to them and tell them, you know what? The church is here for you. You can actually be part of this community. So when they feel loved, cared for, they become part of that
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
And there is nowhere, anywhere, Jesus actually forced people to follow him. In fact, those who wanted to follow him, he told them, go sell your property
Yeah.
and everything that you have and come back and
come,
follow me.
yeah.
And they didn't return. And I know there are even 12, those 12 who had, they followed him, but their hearts were not with him. You know? Judas being one of them. He was there for money.
Yeah.
But he was the most trusted. And so we have a way and an opportunity to change our mindset globally.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to get our statistics right. We need to engage the youth because the world is growing younger.
Yeah.
And Africa is growing younger.
Yeah.
We need to empower them and trust and believe that they can actually reach their own people. Nowadays, you want to talk to the Gen Z, use a young man to go talk to them.
Yeah.
Because you as a father, the moment I see you in a suit,
Yeah.
you are just like my father.
Yeah.
Who I understand, you'll come and tell me, during your days, you used to.
Yeah.
But now we are not in the used to
Yeah.
era. We want things done here.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you say you are a man of your word, keep your word. If you say you are a, I'm a father of kids who challenge me as a father, and I look at them, and I'm wondering, which kind of life is this?
Yeah.
But who teaches them? They talk amongst themselves.
Yeah.
You know? There was one time recently I was very angry with my girl. Probably she's either watching or, and I told her, Mom, we have guests. Let us go home. We will find our solution, our way on how to balance this. And
Yeah.
I was very angry with her. And we get home, and let me tell you should I say cunning or the brightness of this generation?
Yeah.
The moment we learn like this, because he knew I was angry, he said, Dad, excuse me, Dad, I love to talk to you. You're like, you want to talk to me?
Yeah.
I want to discipline you. You want to talk to me?
Yeah.
And I sat down and listened to her. Okay, so what do you want to talk to me about? And she said how she was sorry and she could have done it different. And let me tell you, even the strength of picking up a whip,
Yeah.
Elisha.
Elisha.
I said, oh my God, I wish I had this strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This knowledge. So we need to equip our young people we need to understand and know the generation we are reaching, because every generation has its own, and God raises people in his own generation. The reason why Moses, I so believe so, the reason why Moses could not have gone into the promised land, I don't think he was raised for the promised land. Joshua was. Because Joshua was born in the wilderness. So he doesn't know Egypt. But Moses knows Egypt. And because of, he made God angry in Numbers chapter 20, where God was very angry with him, to a level now he would equate himself with God. How do you want us to give you what? And he equates himself with God. And God is so angry, he's like, Moses, it doesn't work like this. But God told him, you will not pass. You will see, but you won't go. Because from this line, moving forward, Joshua understands his generation. Moses, you don't. You see? So this shift of generation, it was really relevant to Joshua than to Moses. So Moses would have been very ineffective. And you know what Moses did? He raised Joshua for this time. So if we don't have a Moses to empower the youth in missions, in reaching out to their own generation, you pass a Moses on this other side who is inefficient and ineffective. And then you begin to say the devil is really on our side. We don't have solutions on how to reach. It's just because we've learned God's pattern are the same. So every generation with its own leader. Even King Saul could not lead Israel. It came to a time where God had to now. And David had to wait for he became king at 40. But he was anointed when he was a young man. And so when these kids, they came up and they became of age, King Saul had to go. Because now David understands this generation. But also even if King David was the best that Israel had, a time came when he had to go.
To exit.
And King Solomon came. And so you realize that shift is a generational shift. And it really works. And you read the scriptures, it talks about kings reigning for 40 years. And then they died. 40 years, and then they died. 40 is big because 40 is a generational shift. If you get to 40, you have passed over the other side. And it's a shift people need to understand. So I feel like that's really one of the biggest of inefficiency in missions that we've had, and the ineffectiveness of us not understanding the world. Because we live as if we're going to heaven, and we say this world has nothing for me. But you live in a secular house, Beatrice. True. Pay your bills with money. And they say this world has nothing for me. I'm going to. And the reason why God wants you to reach out to people is because there are people who are unreached. And so don't be a selfish Christian who wants to go to heaven and leave others to die. Because if God wanted you not to miss heaven, immediately He knows you're going to heaven. But if the moment we gave our lives to Christ, everybody would have been dying.
It's true.
To make it to heaven. But we don't die. You know what we do? We pick up a new assignment. Now go reach your friend. Now go do this. The Great Commission starts there. Now that you know, go and teach them what I have taught you. Obey what I've commanded you. And baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. So if the church understands, I feel like our mission space will be big.
Wow.
We're almost coming to the close of our conversation. But there is, as we have been speaking about missions and all, there is the 7th World Missions Congress. You mentioned.
The 7th World Missions Congress. Wow, this is big. Honestly, this is big. It's the 7th in the world. World Assemblies of God Fellowship is a body of Assemblies of God churches worldwide, led by Reverend Dominic Hio, who is the chairman. And we all know our Archbishop. I'm actually here because of his name. Archbishop Philip Kitoto, who is the General Superintendent of KAG. And Bishop Gibson, Novato ICC, who is actually the executive lead of the Congress. Now, it will be happening here at Sitam Valley Road, and it's a great honor Because now, you see now, the partnership of CITAM and many other churches.
Yeah.
So, World Assemblies of God consists of generous churches in almost over 170 countries.
Yeah.
Where we come together as one body and to fulfill the Great Commission. Nothing else brings us together.
Yeah.
Just to bring Jesus to the people. And this Congress is for equipping, is for national leaders, authorities, executive leaders, missionaries, pastors, bishops. And actually one of the speakers there will be our own Bishop Callisto Odede, And what actually is happening is that the Congress represents more than 400,000 churches globally. And currently, even as we talk, we have registered international delegates coming into the country. We're talking about 500 and almost 14 there, who are actually on their way. I think some have arrived. And next week is going to be lit for the Lord Jesus. And we are looking forward to have people, and the registration is ongoing. But we have, however, something I need to confirm is September 30th was the last day of registration. It was going for 5,500.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason is because we live in an age where we need to equip and empower missionaries.
Yeah.
And the World Missions Congress is actually now a department in the World Assemblies of God Fellowship. So the missions department is the one running the Congress. Okay. Our host, again, is Archbishop Philip Kitoto in Kenya.
Yeah.
And we have affiliate organizations. Pentecostal World Fellowship, which CITAM belongs to. African Mission Congress as well. And so many affiliates.
All right.
And so we want to ask you, we covet your prayers for that day.
Yeah.
And it's going to be October 8th all the way to 10th. October 8th all the way to 10th from 8 a.m. here until 5 p.m. on Tuesday. Because I do understand we have prayers afterwards.
Yeah.
Yes.
But on Wednesday and Thursday, it goes from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that's really what we're looking forward for.
Right.
So we have volunteers from CITAM, other churches, Age itself, and we're looking forward for such an amazing time of missions. You guys are invited.
Asante
Thank
sana.
you.
Thank you.
Karibishwa sana.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you
This
so
will be
much.
yes.
Yeah.
It is the first on African soil.
The
It
first
has never been hosted in Africa.
in Africa.
So we are privileged. Kenya to be hosting it,
Yeah.
And how best than to partner with CITAM, and other churches.
Yeah.
You're talking about Full Gospel, you're talking about organizations that are really part and parcel of this big meeting. So you are invited.
Thank you.
Karibuni sana.
Thank you.
8th to the 10th of this month.
Yes.
And it will be happening at CITAM Valley Road, right here in Nairobi County.
Yes.
Pastor Moses, thank you so much.
Appreciate
It's been awesome.
Yes.
Eye-opener. Challenging and I'm challenged.
We bless
personally.
the Lord.
Yeah, so
Yes.
thank you so
I think
much.
my favorite bit has been about changing perspectives and mindsets. Because most of the time we're just thinking Christianity is the best religion. We need to put people in this religion, but we miss the point even by thinking that way. Because it's not about the religion, but about relationship. That in itself is just so powerful because it allows me, even as an individual, not to look at the other people like the Muslims and say they are Muslims, but I'm like, this is a child of God. How do I draw them in? So that is, I think, the highlight of this conversation for me, and I really feel that if we go with that perspective, then we stop putting other people in a certain box, but then we understand we are all one, and we can approach people, and we don't have to feel as if I'm doing something wrong by being near a mosque. The truth of the matter is I can actually go there and speak to someone. So I think that has been the highlight, and I believe that is how we get to go to the world, by seeing them as part of us, seeing them through the eyes and the lenses of God.
I think the word there is incarnate.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think people need the social media handles. Maybe if you can share so that if anyone missed anything, even regarding the event that is coming up, they would, catch up with it.
Actually, for more info, it's kenyacongress2024.com.
Okay.
That's where you go for more info. And of course, the handle we are using right now is Kenya Assemblies of God on Facebook. And that's where we are. And of course, we have contacts on the flyer just to make it easy for people.
Okay.
And so through those platforms, then they're able to reach us. And also iccnairobi.org is also one of them where guys can actually find information if they really want. Yeah.
Okay.
So we appreciate the Lord for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. And also this show was live on YouTube, and so you can
Yes.
also share the same, because we have learned a lot, and we also want you to get to learn a thing or two about the mission field and the mission work and how to be equipped for the mission field. So you can share the link as well with anyone and everyone who needs to hear this, what we have shared this morning. But right about now, time spent, but of course we thank God for the time that we have spent with Pastor Moses. Regards to your family, regards to the
Thank you
church as
so
well.
much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yes.
Right, from us, we wish you a blessed and a fruitful day ahead. God willing, we do this again tomorrow, same time, same place. My name is George Gishoro.
My name is Beatrice Nudi. See you guys tomorrow.